Boom, we are live. Another episode. Old heads only. I'm Charles Brown. Right there up the top. What's your
Dale
name, Dale?
man. Dale
Dale
man.
Man, aka the Ugly Professor.
Live
And
and
right
Nice.
under
direct.
him,
Nice. Oh, Kevin O'Brien, but I rhyme under the call sign. Shayminn, Boston Irish hip hop artist. Thank you for having me. God bless you all for being here because you could have been anywhere, but you here with us, rocking with us. Let's
that's
go.
right. And this show is called Old Heads Only. And the one thing we do on here, can y'all hear me good? Am I clear?
Yeah, you clear.
Perfect. We discuss real hip hop topics, real hip hop discussion. Sometimes we discuss old classic LPs. Sometimes we discuss old theologies.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about conscious rap. We've talked about fat rappers,
Storytellers.
skinny rappers. We've talked about female rappers. We've talked about Diggable Planets versus the Fugees.
Damn.
We've talked about a lot of hip hop stuff. And tonight, what up, Curtis? I see you in the building. Bryant White, I see you in the building. Tonight, we are talking about something that is very, very touchy. It's very important though, because a lot of people have a lot to say about this, and some of it's good, some of it's not, but it's extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like not inflammatory, but it could go either way. And I
Yeah.
brought my guy
Fire.
Shayminn in, right?
Yes,
Shayminn
sir.
is very prolific. He's been around in this business, in this culture as long as I have. But as you
Mm-hmm.
can see, Shayminn is of the Caucasian persuasion, but he loves this art form.
Yeah. Yep.
So what I want to do is salute to Antoine. I want to let Shayminn at first, before we even get started, tell us about yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what this hip hop culture means to you.
Okay. Born and raised in Norwood, Massachusetts, but I call myself an adopted Bostonian because Norwood was the type of place. But I got to admit, when I started out, right, see, breakdancing where I live, just to give everybody a geographical idea, Norwood is about 30 miles north. 30 minutes north of Providence and 30 minutes south and of Providence. Oh, 30 miles north of Providence and 30 minutes north of Providence, 30 minutes south of Boston. So I'm like
Okay.
smack in the middle. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
when I started, it was I was like 9 years old, which was
Wow.
like 1983. So I guess I personify old heads. You know what I mean? And so what it was that lit the flame when I got struck by lightning was Michael Jackson moonwalking on Motown 25 in 1983. Or I might have been 8 years old still. I think that happened in March, and I was nearing 9 years old at that time. But I seen a moonwalk and I said, "What the fuck is that?" Do you know what I mean? And
Like the rest of us.
I did it till I learned it, and I was cold. I learned it cold. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think from there, there was things that came in like Beach Street Break, and I didn't see Wild Style back then, and I want to slap myself silly for not seeing that back then. But Beach Street and Breaking were like the ones that got, I
Shayminn,
guess
I
the
didn't
most.
see Wild Style either, brother.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
see
know.
Wild Style till later.
See it to the
I
90s.
know. Yeah, and so I started out with that, and so I started breaking probably like I would say 84. I remember there used to be a group in Boston here who actually was Maurice Starr was in that group called Johnson Crew, and he had a song called Space Cowboy. We used to break to that. White Lines, the Beach Street theme. I could go on. Jam on It was
Remind me
one of
to
my
come back
favorites.
to Maurice Starr, brother.
Yep. And
We're gonna come back to Maurice Starr later, but go ahead.
okay. And so I basically started out like that. It was Grandmaster Flash. And then what really kicked it into high gear was I got Run DMC's first album. And that stuff just that slapped me like my mom's when I talk back to her. You know what I mean? You know, and that really lit it up. You know what I mean? And I basically was like, all right, it's on. Now this is before I realized that this was like, Charles, I think you and I were talking about it last week, where back then, like, everybody had a contribution into building this thing. Mostly Black, if you don't mind me saying, or African Americans. I just don't want to be disrespectful. So Black, African Americans, Latinos, and then I think there were whites. I remember there was a please. I remember one of my earliest participants in hip hop culture that looked like me. He was in Rocksteady Crew. Come on, tell me his name. I feel like stupid for not knowing it. And
It's Stretch Armstrong?
no, it wasn't Stretch. He was in Rocksteady with like Crazy Legs and Ken Swift and all
Oh, I'm
them. I
bugging
think,
out.
yeah. If anybody,
I'm gonna Google that then.
can, if anybody, Curtis, you're right, Black and Puerto Rican, but there was yes, Crazy Legs, but there was someone else. There was a white dude as part of that too. I should say Black and Latinos were at the forefront of the culture, and kind of like white people were on the outskirts, on the fringe. It
You're
was
talking
very
about
few.
Frosty Freeze. His name is Frosty Freeze.
Yes, and I believe he passed away. But Frosty Freeze was a dope b-boy, and that was kind of like the earliest stuff. You know what I mean? And then so too many early old school hip hop to name, and then obviously the Breaking soundtrack. There's no stopping us, like, or just so many different songs. White Lines, White Horse. There was all these different songs back then that just lit the flame. But what it was just at that time, hip hop was kind of out here, was kind of like a phase. Do you know what I mean? And then, then obviously New Edition, Candy Girl, which again was Maurice Starr, that jumped that whole thing off. And that was just like, oh man, these dudes are from my backyard. But once breaking / where it's really called b-boying, once b-boying faded out here, I basically was like, okay, it's back to playing sports, and I would
Okay.
play.
What was you playing?
Baseball and basketball, but baseball was something to do. Baseball was something to do till basketball season. I lived, breathed, shit, pissed. I loved basketball. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, basketball like actually gave me my work ethic. And I remember there was something that my stepfather said that I brought into music. You know what I mean? He said, one of the few things that he told me, because I had a contentious relationship and now he's out the picture. Long story. In other words, he ended up doing my mom pretty dirty. But in any event, he said there's a difference between someone who's a player and someone who wears the uniform. Do you know what I mean? And if I can attain that to hip hop, if I can, kind of take that phrase and stick it in, it's either you're willing to go, you're willing to go, you're either all in and willing to go all out, or don't come at all. There's no dipping your toe in the water. You dive in the pool and you're in. There's no getting out of it. There's no getting out of it when it's just convenient for you. Do you know what I mean? Like when situations get too hot and you do what I call bitch up and switch up. Now it's time to, oh, this is too much for me. Let me, and so many people do it because, all right, so sorry, I'll back up. So I would say I would say when I was a freshman in high school, I started. Now, what really lit the flame, and I started to get out of the Norwood type shit, and you get where I'm going. So what really lit it for me was when Maurice left New Edition, or New Edition left Maurice.
Right.
What happened is he basically said, okay, I'm going to go out and create the white New Edition and enter New Kids on the Block.
Right.
So I started hearing about them my freshman year of high school, but I was still basketball all the time. So I started hearing about them. So I was like, all right. And then I remember, for all you old schoolers, before streaming, I sat there and I said, okay, I got it was like a tape was a transformation. Again, like Run DMC, this was the next phase of it, where I went out and I bought I got a gift certificate to Strawberries Records and Tapes. Talk
Right.
about old school. Talk about another old heads only,
That's old heads.
Yeah, absolutely. That's us. That's our gen, where you had to chase the music as opposed to it being instantly available, readily available, instant gratification.
Right.
So I got that for Christmas in '88. So in '89, I bought 2 albums. I bought the Colors soundtrack with that classic
Cuz.
Ice-T
Cuz.
song, Colors.
Cuz.
Yeah. Oh man, love that. So I love that one, and then I bought Hangin' Tough, and just I heard that, but I didn't really, I heard that, and I was like, all right, I'm all in with this, but I still wasn't ready to chase it as a performer yet. So I
So wait,
would say,
Shayminn, let me stop you. Let me stop you right there.
Mhm.
So your introduction to hip hop was Colors and Hanging Tough.
No, like I
Or
said,
that's what you first
You
bought.
got Run DMC back in the day.
Run DMC back in the
Okay.
day.
All right.
But here's what I'll speed up to that. Here's what made me want to do it. Meaning, these guys, they did shows in neighborhoods that I actually went on to do as well. I saw how they grew up. You know what I mean? Hip hop based, and I was like, and they were like, yeah, we grew up breaking. I did that. And just their background was similar to mine, except I wasn't born in Boston. Okay. But I heard about the break and I was like, okay. And then, but this time around, not that it matters, but like they showed me it can be done because they look like me. Do you know what I mean? And then at the time, I mean, I was socially awkward. I didn't really get a lot of chicks, just square peg in a round hole, I call it. And so later on, I saw there used to be a show here called PM Magazine, and they did a feature on them, and we were like all excited about that. And they were like the girls and sitting outside the house and all that other stuff, and we were like, yeah, So one of my friends was like, "Why don't we start a group?" And I was like, "What are you nuts? You bugging?" So it was basically like pop R&B type stuff. We were horrible. We were called Big Impression, and but that simmered out. That simmered out. Okay, but the talent was worse than the name. But I mean, you got to think about it. It was Positive Impact, and all these Four on the Floor, like these '90s, late '80s, early '90s group names. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, but we faded. My friends, we made it all the way to a guy named Larry Wu, right here in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, to me, there was 3 guys back in that day that I knew of that were like the big dogs. Maurice Starr, Dwayne Omar, who I'll get to him later too, and Larry Wu, who we had a big audition with. And, actually my father was the one that took me to Roxbury to do it. And we'll get to my father. Trust me, that's a whole bag of worms in itself. And he took us down there. We did the audition. And even that summer, there was a kid named Dwayne Harris. He moved out here from Mattapan, and and we was gonna rap together, you know what I mean? This was the week before finals. Okay, this was the precursor to the audition. Not that it matters, but he was like a black friend of mine. But we planned on doing, doing some shit together. And I was like, hey, I'll see you for the summer. And then all of a sudden, he got shot. Like I came in to do finals the next week. He was shot and killed, dead within a half an hour. You know what I mean? And like that rattled me. Like we were just gonna link up, do this, do that, and that rattled me to the core. That was my first taste of it. Although I know every day in the hood that shit is pretty common. You know what I mean? And
All right.
so, but experiencing that
So
shit that
Shayminn,
young
hold
really
up. Before
fucked me up.
you finish, Shayminn, let me stop you right there. That's a
Yep.
lot to unpack.
It
And I
is.
want
I
to
mean,
unpack that. That's a lot. And right there, you just described a white man's experience in hip hop. All of that, what you did, you could have did that at any color. Right? There was no color on none of that. You heard hip hop, you loved it, you formed a group. Y'all were not that great, according to
no,
you,
no.
but you still love the art form. You
Right.
purchased it, you love breaking,
Yep.
and you're white.
Yeah. And what happened is that, so after my friend passed away, then we went and did the big audition.
Push your camera up.
Oh,
There you
right
go.
here. Oh, okay. Then we did the big audition. You know what I mean? And what happened is that we did the big audition, and Larry wanted to sign us. But here's what it was. I was under 18 still, and my mom was like, negative. So, I mean, that drove a major wedge. That felt like the first level of betrayal, betrayal. And
Can y'all
that's,
hear? Can y'all hear Shayminn? General saying he's low. Are you saying he's talking low? I hear him perfectly. I don't know, but somebody's saying that your voice is low in the
all
comments.
right.
I get it perfectly.
I hear you perfectly. Go ahead.
Okay. So when my mom said no, okay, like I wasn't an adult yet. I was, I was at her mercy to sign. Do you know what I mean? And what happened was just like I looked at her and I'm like, no. Said, you fucking shitting me? Like, in other words, I was okay if I was playing basketball and I was playing baseball, but now I do this. And then it started, you're a white dude in a black man's game, you ain't never gonna make it or whatever. Or, so there was that. And then even in school, like for being a New Kids fan, we thought we get girls from that, but nope, he's gay because he likes them. And then rapping. When I decided, which I'm not, nothing against it. But, and then after that, I did, because what happened was after that, after the like sing, Girl, I Love You was not what I wanted to just express. So that's when I started rapping. You know what I mean? But my Dukes was like, no, and then when I started rapping, and in the eyes of everybody in school, oh, he's a excuse me for saying it. This was at the time, Wega. I was that. And then, I mean,
Oh, I want to discuss all of that. Like, that's so much going on, Shayminn. We
yeah,
got to
yeah. And
discuss that, right?
but I mean, even my mom, when she turned on me, and we'll get to my dad as well. Even my mom, when she turned on me, I took all my baseball trophies, all my basketball trophies, and I snapped them over my knee and I threw them right in front of her. Didn't throw them at her, just right at her feet. I said, this is what these mean to me now, because, I'm only okay if I'm your obedient little boy that did all that. If I do that, I'm good. But I do this, now you don't want to support me. When, but it is what it was. I don't want to act like I had daddy hard enough issues. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't, but, and then my father was a whole new bag of worms. Jesus He was a cop at Northeastern University. So don't get it twisted. We're not talking Northeastern's in an area in Roxbury, and so my father, I mean, even when we used to go there, when we'd go to his precinct to pick up his check. This was well before any of this. And he would be like, all you'd hear is F this, F that, N-word this, N-word that, everywhere you went. Shocker, given the way police are, you know what I mean? Shocker, but he was really bad about it, and he
So Shayminn,
targeted.
hold up, Shayminn.
Yep. Yep. Sorry.
Let's talk about that. You came from a home that wasn't as supportive about hip hop culture, black culture. That was
Nope.
that generation. You were a new generation. You were
Mhm.
into hip hop, black culture, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you stay involved with it? How did you elevate with it? Because you could have went the other way.
Love
for the culture. Okay.
Yep. Love for just hip hop. Like I found an identity for it. Kind of like if you had to take wouldn't say I took a difficult road, but I mean America in itself is race and class. Kind of like, like the way punk music was for like white kids before hip hop. It was like, fuck you, to authority. Fuck you.
Right.
And I didn't do it just for fuck you reasons, or I didn't use it for cheap rebellion. I'll show you, daddy. I'll show you, mommy. I'll show everybody in school. None of that. Just sitting there and just, you know what I mean? Just, actually, who showed me the ins and outs, and I studied saying New Kids the most, was Donnie Wahlberg. Like first, say like he was in a video and he was wearing a Public Enemy shirt. And I was like, oh, what the hell is that? And then I went into Public Enemy and I'm like digging, you know what I mean? And then I remember hearing Fight the Power for the first time. And I have this line in it. Now you got to think of the way I was raised and the belief system I was given to run with, and that all of this was proper and right. And so everybody was like, in that song, Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant to be a straight out racist. The sucker was simple and plain. Motherfuck him in John Wayne. Because I'm black and I'm proud and I'm hyped and I'm amped. Most of my heroes don't appear in no stamp. So Let me break that down for you. Right when I heard stuff like that, I learned to read between the lines. Right? That's what it taught me. And I was kind of like, in where I come from, he was like, Elvis, why are they saying that about Elvis? I got nothing against Elvis, but the truth is the truth, and I'm going to speak it. So I said, why are they saying that about Elvis? What's that? And so what happened was that I go to find out Elvis was just stealing black music, more the Colonel. I don't know. He does come from my roots. And Elvis, to me, back then was the safe they could throw black music at. And he, shake hips, make the white girls go crazy, but was not really giving up and giving back to black culture. Like I remember seeing, and it was this horrid version. He did a version of I think it was Tutti Frutti by Little Richard. Like when they call Elvis the king of rock and roll. Elvis, one of the coolest motherfuckers that ever did it? Absolutely. But the greatest king of rock and roll, you can kiss my ass sideways with a rented pair of lips. No way. You know what I mean? The king of rock and roll was Little Richard. And oh God, how can I? Johnny B. Good. Who the hell sang that? I should slap myself for not knowing that. Who sang it? Come on.
Oh man.
No, Chuck Berry started rock and roll.
Chuck Berry, that's
Chuck
it.
Berry.
Those, to me, are the kings of rock and roll.
Facts.
Without a doubt. My opinion. You can think Elvis, whatever. One for the money. Blue Suede Shoes was sung by Carl Perkins. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's anybody before him, but I found out what was Hound Dog was taken from a woman named Big Mama Thornton,
Facts.
right? And if you listen to it, Big Mama Thornton's version, it's almost all they did was change the lyrics a little bit. But like Big Mama, you ain't nothing but a hound, like I was like, Jesus Christ, all this stuff I didn't know, and I'm thinking it's all to me, like to some degree, Elvis was like a professional karaoke then before the karaoke. Do you know what I mean? And it was just I was just like, I felt like I was robbed of this and, groomed and this and this and this was right. And like, I just found out it was all wrong quick. Do you know what I mean? And then John Wayne, I remember, it was well known that John Wayne was racist, but also I remember hearing about, like, I remember two things. I heard he did a Playboy article
Yeah.
in
Yep.
the 70s where he was really going off being racist. And then the other one was this is more Native American bigotry, like when there was a Native American, I don't know her exact name, but that accepted on behalf of Marlon Brando, where winning the Oscar for The Godfather, he sent a Native American
Yep.
in protest for equal rights and things like that. And from what I heard, John Wayne was the one that wanted to get up and knock Marlon Brando out or rip her off the stage, whatever it was.
Wow.
But I mean, all of these elements that I learned, and I just felt like I was duped. Like I could even see through the bullshit that I grew up with. Do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, when I was in high school, right, I would sit with my friends, but a good majority because we had the music in common, and that's where the brotherhoods were built. Like, like I told you about my friend that got shot. You know what I mean? And we were all like this. Do you know what I mean? Because we had that shit in common, and that shit didn't matter. But the stares I would get from my white counterparts, while I'm
Wow.
sitting at that lunch table, and none of them had the balls to come up to me and come up to us and say anything, but the minute I got away from all that, they'd pull me right to, why are you sitting with them? Who's them? Them, Oh, that's what it was like growing up in Norwood. So I still live here now because the rent is too good. But when I was starting out, ain't nobody out here doing what I was doing. So I had to go into Boston. So I would get on the bus here on what they call the 34E. That's the T for those who know. And I would travel an hour into Forest Hills, which it was in Jamaica Plain, then get on the Orange Line to go where I needed to go. Or I would get on the Orange Line and hop on to the Red Line at Downtown Crossing, Red Line out to wherever I used to rehearse in South Boston. I would go to Dorchester at DYC trying to meet people. I heard Donnie Wahlberg, grew up there. So I would try to be where people are and know when to
Right.
be there. You know what I mean? So I call myself, I feel like, like all my, I'm not laying claim because of this, like, but my father grew up in Boston and, I have strong roots in West Roxbury where it's heavy Boston Irish. Do you know what I mean? And it's a whole thing in its own. In I more so descended from that as well. That the proper mentality, not the other one it's known for. You know
So
what I mean?
Shayminn.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Shayminn.
Yep.
All right. So with all that being said, I love this story. It's mad. It's very, very captivating. And with all
Thank you.
that being said,
Yep.
which is it's fascinating.
Thank you.
Without
Appreciate it.
without getting you in any type of like, because it's not a trouble question, but
No, like,
I want you to say
oh,
you've done all of that since the 80s.
yep.
You've been
Jesus.
involved with the culture on your level since the 80s. There are
Yep.
still people, and it's not about Benzino, but there are still people who say this culture is not for anyone else. I don't subscribe to that, but there are
hmm
some people who do. Now, you love it. I can sit here and name 50 to 1,000 other guys, Caucasians, white, whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
Latino, whatever, that have contributed, that have done it for the love, and have
Okay.
paid their dues.
Okay.
What would you say to someone that says, even with all of that,
Okay.
you don't belong in it?
Well, I mean, put it this way. What I've come to learn over the years is the one thing is acceptance. Like, I accept everybody's right to say what they need to say and express it the way they express it. And as I told you, different elements, Big Mama Thornton, Elvis being a true culture vulture that not on the carcass of rock and roll. Do you know what I mean? And I know all that. But all things being equal and all things being said, once I became what I call an adopted Bostonian with this hip hop, meaning Norwood, where I grew up, rejected me, left me with nothing. Boston embraced me and gave me everything. Okay.
Okay.
So, but what I learned young, okay, is I remember it was the first time I talked about JP. I used to hang near Heath Street, down in JP. Heath Street, you know, for all my Bostonians, there's if you stay left, you go down South Huntington. If you stay right, you continue down Center Street, which goes all the way down to Heath Street. So I hung there, and I remember we all went to Jamaica Pond. Now think about it. Weed was illegal back then. So we went there, and I used to wear baggy ass jeans because I was skinny as a motherfucker. And I thought
Like
that made
Dale.
me, yeah, like, and I thought that made me look bigger, negative. So anyways, I remember someone said something to me that stuck where I got it is smoking weed for the first time. He said two things. My boy Juan, right? And it was almost like God went into his head, out his mouth, into my ears. All right. And Juan said this first funny thing he said, because my head was shaved at the time. Just, you know, definitely not a white supremacist, you know, a racist white rapper. Yeah, that would work. You know, anyways, you know, AKA it wouldn't. And I was the furthest from it. But I mean, that was my expression. You know what I mean? And I got a big ass head, if you can tell. And my boy Juan, who said the next thing, he said, man, he takes a puff of the weed, looks at me, he says, you look like a fucking match. You know, big ass head, skinny ass body. You know, and I was, you know, but this is the, you know, one comedy with insightful. He said this to me. He says, you know why we like you? And I said, I don't know. Now he's Puerto Rican, you know, but we had a mix. We like Puerto Rican, black, you know, me, whoever, I think a couple other white dudes, but we all hung together. You know, we weren't trying to be, you know, some rainbow crew or anything like that, you know, where it was intentionally colorful, you know. But, you know, he told me, he said, you know why we like you? Because we know that you could go home, change your clothes, and things like store security will never look at you twice. That hit me that hit my ears, and it just sunk in where I was like, all right, I need to get this. And I got it right there. Meaning I can go home and go back to dressing square and nobody would look at me. Or sometimes, like, I feel like you know, I think sometimes there's kids out here that look like me, right? And I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my own experience. Don't nobody else get in their feelings, okay? Just want to preface it. I feel like a lot of kids like me want to rap, but they don't want what comes with it. They don't want to experience things like people who built this culture, people in the inner city experience every day. You know what I mean? They don't want that. You know, say if I was someone that didn't get it and I used hip hop or being in the neighborhoods I was in for me to someday and go, hey, guess what? I went slumming once. Do you know what I mean? Excuse the term. But some of these kids will do that. I call it cheap rebellion. And there's some out here that they need to go get long lost hugs from daddy as opposed to trying to pick up a mic and rap. That's what if please don't I'm not being dismissive. We're being progressive here. Everybody does their thing and has the right to do it. But I've been at this a long time, and I've seen a lot of hip hop and observation, had a chance to watch, put up on a lot of game, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that I've taken to heart. So, some will say have their black friends in the car, right? And say the white kid has got his hat like this, like his friends. Then the cop comes up to the car, watch his hat go like this, and then he starts talking, proper, like a regular white person would. Not that I'm some exception to the rule, but I was influenced and moved by, like, what you see is what you get. I don't bitch up and switch up. That's through a fair sense of loyalty too. If you my friend, you my friend. And we go down together, we go up together, we rise together, we fall together. But I was taught loyalty is everything. Without it, you got nothing. And you know what? There's not a lot of it these days, unfortunately. There's not a lot of it at all, especially in this business. Someone will stick a Ginsu in your back, turn the handle, leave you bleeding in the gutter, and step over you if that means them getting ahead. Do you know what I mean? So in other words, back to the car example, like a cop, like his friends maybe, maybe not this extreme, but I'm sure it's happened. Me knowing how cops are, directly having one in my family, and a racist one at that. And so, his three friends will be on the hood, and then they'll take the white kid and exit him stage left, and he'll be going, what are you doing with them?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll sit there and go, I don't know those guys, but my dad's a lawyer and I live out in Wellesley. Call him. He'll get me out of this. Wink, wink. Okay, buddy? And that's not everyone, but like I said, I learned early, or I can't, you were saying you don't belong, there's nobody anything can tell me that I haven't already heard. Like, someone has to really get creative. And I'm not even saying words being said to me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can't count how many times I got booed. Boo! In the neighborhoods of Boston, but I was in those neighborhoods, and I had the right people vouch for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's people today, and again, I don't want a first place ribbon in the potato sack race for it, but they would say, they're like, who that they I remember one time my man LD was like, you see this dude right here, he'd be out in the community with us, and the only one that looked like him was him. You know what I mean? And I used to go in it. Now here's some divine intervention. I used to be in the neighborhoods in Roxbury and all that other stuff, and
the home of LG.
Yeah, and like I used to be in and out of there. And one thing I didn't get, my father told me this years later. There's a place called Hibernian Hall down there. That's where my friggin' grandparents met. You know what I mean? I didn't even know that. So there was different aspects and elements of me being in the community and figuring it out. But like, say I would get booed, like the thing was, like, where it was really tough was after Vanilla Ice and pre Eminem. Like, you had exceptions to the rule, and there were good ones like
Everlast.
Well, I'll get to him as a whole though. Everlast put,
Third base.
Yep, third base. Everlast was solo too with I Got the Knack when he was with Rhyme Syndicate. And then House of Pain. Right? House of Pain. I'm just like, again, like they were, first of all, they look like me.
Right.
Whoopie ding, but they woke me to something deeper. And it was the Irish culture. And I'm like, okay. I'm Irish. I connect with that. I
And you know
remember I
what?
was,
You had somebody to
yes, Curtis.
your thing, like
Hmm.
give you your thing. It wasn't our thing anymore. It was they were giving you they were doing rap, but they were putting your culture in it. You
Right.
know what I'm
And
saying?
the thing was though, like I didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole went as far as being Irish till much later. So I continued with that. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm rocking with this, but that didn't mean it got easier. Doing like,
Right,
oh, and
right.
then the tide started to turn, like with Eminem, because I mean Eminem, despite what everybody thinks about him now, and we'll get to that. I'm not going to shy away from that. But at the time, I mean, skills wise, he was too dope to be denied. You know what I
Who,
mean? As
Everlast
far
or
as I'm
Eminem?
concerned. What's that?
Everlast or Eminem?
Eminem.
All right.
Eminem was a game changer, meaning I sat there and I actually met him 2 weeks. His single was banging all over BCN, a rock station. Guess why? You know, his
Ah,
you know, his all over hip hop, all over MTV, but he hadn't blown yet. So this was 2 weeks before he really went into the stratosphere and hasn't looked back since for all the controversy, everything else. Um, I met him at the Middle East in Cambridge, Mass.
right.
Okay. Middle East is a pop. Yeah, I mean, Charles,
Yeah.
I remember you used to run stuff at the Western Front around the corner too, a couple times.
Middle East and both of them. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So see, 15 years, Charles and I go back anyways.
More
Um,
than that.
yeah, Martin, you sure? 15,
Something like that.
2009. What's up with your
Something
math,
like that.
dude? Did you fall asleep
Something
in
like
that
that.
class?
My mathing ain't mathing.
Yeah, I got you. So anyways, at the Middle East, they're like, yo, you got to get down here. You got to get down here. Um, you know, they're having like a meet and greet. So I remember there used to be a Burger King right on the corner. And I went to the Burger King first. And I went in there and there was this big, burly black dude, looked like a bodyguard. And then I saw this dude with a blonde top and he had this powder baby blue sweatsuit on, one leg up. LL Cool J made that popular at the time. This was 99 that happened,
Wow.
and I looked and I said, nah, can't be. Get the fuck out of here. No, I can't be. Because I had been seeing freestyle tapes of him too, and I'm like, this dude is out of his mind. His skill level, and it was the shit he was saying that had me pissing myself laughing. I remember one of his old freestyles. Now, keep in mind terminology back then, before all you millennials get offended, which are over everything these days. Anyways, he said, met a retarded kid named Greg with a wooden leg, snatched it off and beat him over the head with the peg. Or I'm doing drive-bys and tinted out Corvettes on Vietnam War vets. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Nah, it was crazy.
I
Eminem was
finally
wild, bro.
I finally found someone who was thinking like me, and I felt not so fucked up. You know what I mean? So I could relate that way. I learned mental liberation. If you think it, say it. You know what I mean? And that's what I call that. Like stop being afraid to say it. But I've learned as I've grown is when and when not to. But the tide turned at that point. But even before that, I was in. I was with this crew that Cindy Diggs created called UMMF, Us Making Moves Forever. And it was like a united family of artists throughout the city of Boston. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And it was like we were in those neighborhoods together. My boy C1, Cliff Brathwaite, right? He brought me up to, Washington Park and Roxbury, wherever it is, Malcolm X Park, doing neighborhood community shows, Intervale Street, highly gang infested area. And like I was there. That's like, in other words, that's where you had to go to earn your stripes. Okay. no matter who you are, you know, and I got booed. I made it all the way to the Apollo, got booed there once, you know, and not going to lie, that increased my drinking exponentially. That was 97 pre-Eminem,
What?
but like,
That's
yeah.
hilarious. That's
So,
crazy.
you know, and, you know, there's just so much to pull from, you know, where it was like unreal. Do you know what I
So
mean? Some of this stuff.
let's discuss
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
elephant in the room.
Okay, go.
You brought up Eminem, which we were going to get to, so I think we should get
Hmm.
there now.
Hmm.
Eminem is being, first of all, I'm an Eminem fan, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I get
As
accused
am
of,
I.
I get accused of being like a stan or whatever. Like when I defend him, they be like, "Oh, why are you defending the white boy?" Da da da. Like you know, it's extreme, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
And this
But
whole
I get
thing
it.
of
I get
this
it.
whole this whole thing of Eminem don't bang in the hood. They don't play him in the hood. Nobody bumps him. Da 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 da.
Hmm.
With that being said, we got this Benzino Eminem. And Benzino just went up to. He went to Detroit. Went to Mom Spaghetti.
Hmm.
Shot a whole
Hmm.
video.
Hmm.
Benzino's from where you're from.
Yep.
We're not gonna disrespect Benzino. We're just gonna have a
Nope.
conversation, right?
Nope.
But I
I'm
want to hear
sorry.
your opinion because he says it's been 20 years now.
Hmm.
He still has not let up, and he's still saying, "This is our culture." Eminem is an outsider,
Hmm.
and he gets way more respect than he should, and that's why he's opposed to his stardom,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, I
Go
just did
ahead.
hold on, Shane. I just did a quick Google search, and it said
Okay.
I said how many fans of hip hop itself, fans like supporters, and Google estimates about 70% are white people,
Hmm.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Which carry the momentum of hip hop as whatever it is. Now, I say
Right.
all that to
Right.
say, Benzino has raised the question
Okay.
that Eminem's success is because of his skin color. I disagree with that.
Okay.
Where do you stand on Benzino's stance on Eminem?
Okay. Now, I want to start off by saying I'm going to be progressive. I'm going to be dismissive. Um, and I'm going to do my best not to choose a side. I got respect for Eminem, as I just said. You know, I'm definitely not a stan. Um, Meaning, like, you know, I model everything after him. You know, I take from so many different people, you know, even the Beatles, the Doors, Michael Jackson, anything great, I study it. Michael Jackson said it, study the greats and become greater.
Facts.
But the only competition with me, I feel, lives in the mirror. Do you know what I mean? Not because I'm better, but I can't change whoever and whatever, and nor am I in the business of conversion. So I let people be who they are, and you know, be objective in like we are here, you know, building dialogue, you know, because like you said, this is a hot button topic, but all things being equal with Benzino, this is what I'll say. I've met him a couple times. Good dude. Good dude. And, you know, he was in one of the most, like they were a ruthless group from Boston, and they were
All my
about,
RSO
right. They were
and the
about
made
what,
men.
right. They were about what they rapped about, you know,
Right.
and I remember they were one of the groups I studied, good, bad, or indifferent, or who did or who didn't like them, you know. As far as Benzino was concerned, I mean, they released one record that was like side by side with Body Count's Cop Killer, and this is where RSO got a lot of heat because they did a song called One in the Chamber. So those two
Right.
sides, you know, came out like,
I remember that song.
yeah, yeah. And then like, I remember, I wasn't privy to producers. I wasn't privy to, you know, so the only beats I did, and we all did it starting out. If somebody says they don't do it today because you can download a beat, or, hey man, I'll buy your beat for $25, or, you know, whatever online, you know what I mean?
Right.
and you know, or they record it at home and it fucking sounds like it, you know, tinny and 2-bit shit, you know. You know, but if that works, that works. To each his own, live and let live. But back to Benzino, it was RSO, it was like you know, one of the beats that I love. This was my first introduction to them, even though I think they came out with an album in '85 called We Can't Be Stopped, something like that, if I'm not wrong. But so this is when they signed with Tommy Boy, and they had one in the chamber. So what happened is the beat was so fucking dope. And, you know, I said, you know, so we took the, you know, I had the cassette single, maxi single, and somebody I knew had the vinyl. So like I would even go, you know, so I used to rap over that, you know, like I'd write my own shit to that beat. So I'm from Boston. How the fuck can I, you know, can I not, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you think about it, and think about him, doesn't matter, but he's put on for the city, you know, the
Right.
Source, and this, that, and the third. Or I remember, like, one of the things about RSO that you didn't do is wear Bruins gear. All right. And
Why
I
was that?
remember I remember I went to one of them recently. It wasn't Benzino, and I said, yo, still to this day, I don't wear Bruins gear. And he's like, serious? He's like, you can, who cares? And I go, nah. I go, let's call that a respect. That was y'all's
Why
thing.
can't you wear it?
Because that was their thing. That was I wouldn't say gang colors, but that was like their look. You know what I mean? Like whatever anybody did is their business. I'm not gonna say gang. I knew they grew up in Four Corners and all, you know, it was really heavy out there. You know, from an outside stories,
Yeah.
but that was or Benzino,
Is he out
but
of
like
pocket? Is he out of pocket, Shayminn?
with this,
With the Eminem, the 20 years of just down on Eminem, I think it's more than just his
but
color.
here's the thing. Why can't people let sleeping dogs lie? Did Benzino start this? No. He
Mm-hmm.
brought it up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
He dug it out the ground and resuscitated on that Lyrical Lemonade album or something. And he did that.
Yeah.
What was it? I don't even know the name of the song. Like he gets hate everywhere, and it just got intense because he kind of like resuscitated this whole thing, and to some degree he brought it on himself. Where it's
Yeah.
like, but I mean, the other theory I have in any aspect of life, okay?
Doomsday. The
Yes,
song was
Doomsday.
Doomsday.
It wasn't a Doomsday 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Doomsday 2.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I look at it like this too in any aspect of my life. I don't make my business what isn't my business because it's none of my business. And if I make it my business, then I'm involved. And once you're involved, you may see that you're in deeper. You'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes. And if you're in too deep, you realize you're in over your fucking head. Do you know
So let
what I
me ask
mean?
you a question, Shayminn.
Yep.
Somebody like what's my guy? The guy that does White Iverson. What's his name, Dale? I'm bugging out.
Oh, Post Malone.
Post Malone, who
Yep.
is a country singer
Yeah.
first, rock and roller second,
Yeah.
and a rapper third.
Okay. But
What's your opinion?
what I will tell you about him, and I'll even be careful with my wording with him too, is the fact that one of the guys that produces him is named Lou Bell, and he's from actually Quincy, that produces Post Malone. Quincy,
Okay.
Mass, right outside of Boston. And it's like, but as far as like you just mentioned all those things, but yet I don't quite get why they play him on hip hop oriented stations. I don't quite get it. I don't know. I don't know if
Do
it's
you feel his journey is similar to yours in hip hop? I don't.
No,
I'm gonna be honest.
no, because I have my own journey. I can't speak on anybody else's
But you have
or
a hip hop love journey. So
yeah,
you're in
yeah. I
hip hop
mean,
because you loved it, and you went against your entire household and
oh
your
yeah,
community to
yep.
still be hip hop. I'm not
Just my,
sure that
you're saying
Post
about the
Malone had the
household.
same thing.
You were saying about my household, right? I'll give you a funny story about my father. We'll get back to that in a second. Sorry, we're bouncing around. But like you said, it is like, maybe it's my ADHD. Look at the sky. Anyways, um, you know,
Squirrel.
yeah, squirrel trying to get a nut. Um, so what happened is I'll give you a story one time. And this is, I even told this story and it got a lot of laughs from my boys from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I know the Funky Bunch guys. I only met Mark once. So I was on their show and I told this story and I just talked to Scotty G, one of the guys from there earlier. And the funny thing is he sat there and I told him a story about my dad. Now you got to think this is the way my dad is, and he's mellowed out and whatever. It's always been a toxic and traumatic relationships. But in any event, again, so what happened was I remember I had to repeat my senior in high school because my first love at the time got pregnant. She ended up miscarrying. We lost the baby. This was my first senior year of high school. And so I had to go back and repeat my senior year. So he takes me school shopping. Now, at that point, flannels were Snoop at the time, and boots, like Timberland boots, was like Wu-Tang. Everybody in the East Coast rocked Timbs. Do you know what I mean?
Facts.
And I did that. So my father took me school shopping, and I'm getting the flannel lined jackets and lined flannel jackets, and he got me boots, and he was like, "Oh, so I see you're changing your style of dress." Maybe he thinks I was returning to the white light with no sense of style of what the trends were. So he calls me 2 weeks later, right? Now, keep in mind, he works in a pretty rough area. And 2 weeks later, he calls me. I know why you were wearing flannels and fucking boats, because I went up the African American Society the other night and they were all fucking dressed like you. So when you asked what you said to me about the way I feel, like as far as like if I went up against my own father, like you said, went against his narrative, went against his grain, and I never backed down. What the fuck else out here do I have to be concerned with? What the fuck else here do I have to be afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. To this day, I have major fears, doubts, and insecurities. Hey, look at that, guys. I can admit it. But then again, who doesn't? But I've let fear run my fucking life. You know what I mean? For a long time. And yeah, but the thing was about my journey due to the love was I kept coming. I kept coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get booed. I kept coming. I kept coming. No, but what I will say, and Benzino and Eminem is not isolated incident, okay, is not an isolated case. I think to some degree is we have to be careful out here because it has crossed over into reality.
Mm-hmm.
Biggie and Pac dead. And for what? Bullshit. Now, I
Right.
was taught, say like you got an issue with me, Charles, or I got an issue with you. I'm going to come to you direct.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to fight or anything like that. Because even if I fight you, is that going to change who and what you are? It's fucking pointless. Right? But I'm going to come to you like a man and be like, dude, what is your fucking problem? And if so, why don't we sit here and figure it out? And if we can't, I guess, I don't know, you'll either get no response from me, or if you want to dance, I got rhythm, not on some tough guy shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wouldn't do that,
Right.
and because it's the respect and loyalty. But here's the thing. When you have this side saying fuck him and you get that side saying fuck him from a distance, all these people get in the middle that ain't got shit to do with it. And it gets dangerous. It gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Plus, if I, say the two crews confront themselves, you ever see someone get all extra when they're, I've seen it in bars all the time, and people get in the middle, they start shit, the start shit, and then they stand behind the front. Yeah. I'll get you when I see it again. I'll fuck you up. And then they look at their friends going, hey, how did I do? You know what I mean? And there's deeper implications, you know what I mean? And I'm not, beef and battles have always been part of it, but now it crosses into, it's not just on wax anymore, like Nas and Jay-Z was a rare case, especially it got scary. It got scary at that time because we were just fresh off of Biggie and Tupac, 4 years removed when they had that beef in 2001. And, it's just like I said,
that seemed like a lifetime apart. That wasn't
right,
that
but it
far
wasn't
from each
that
other,
far
though.
apart. It wasn't that
right,
far
but I
apart.
mean,
Now that you say that, that seems like that was years. Like that could have been 15 years difference, but it was only 5 years. That's crazy.
I know, but you know what? But
ahead.
everybody was scared. Everybody was scared, like, because, see, I think with this, I mean, nobody's taking away Eminem's talent or anything like that, but dude, that shit was in the ground. And
Now,
you took jumper cables, added one side to the car battery and the other side to whatever was dead and recharged it.
Shayminn, let me ask you a question.
To me, that's irresponsible.
Let me ask you another question about this situation, not about Benzino and Eminem. I want to talk about the artists that we look at, for lack of a better word, the white artists that we look at as whack.
Mm-hmm.
Vanilla Ice.
That made it real tough. Let me touch on that for 1 second.
No, but I want to ask you a question about that. Like, did we benefit as a culture from Vanilla Ice? I have my own opinions, but Vanilla Ice sold. I think I can look up how many records he sold, and he brought us to a different demographic. He cleaned it up, and just like Elvis, and he put it in front of a different fan base. Yeah, we're still eating off to this day. So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay,
Vanilla
go ahead.
Ice, we consider them we laughed at them, we dissed them, third base dissed them. You know what I'm saying? Like we got a bunch of in Living Color, made fun of him.
Yep.
They made fun of Snow as well. Snow got a whole I just saw it the other day. Jim Carrey made fun of Snow. You know who Snow is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All of that in Farmer. So what I'm saying is,
I like it boom boom down.
Right.
Yeah, and
we had Vanilla Ice.
but I mean, one thing that he had
did we benefit?
MC Shan was behind Snow, and I think that was a huge injection of, I don't know, credibility. I don't know what you want to call it. All things being equal, but obviously Snow's is the guy out front. You know what I mean? But as far as Vanilla Ice is concerned, I had a lot of directionless rage. I had a lot of rage in the beginning, and it became directionless after a long time. Because I feel after him and the abomination it all became because he lied about his background. He's passing himself off as this street kid from Miami. I remember even on the show, where he had to show everybody where he got stabbed, that he was authentic or whatever, but he ended up being Robert Van Winkle from Dallas or something like that, or
Let me
or,
look that up.
no, he did, and I think like I blamed a lot of my experience on him because the door just got, bolted shut. You know what I mean? And, so I don't know if they saw. Yeah, I mean, I used to go in front of Vanilla Ice, get off the fucking stage. Actually, three things happened back then. This is pre Eminem, right? The three things happened.
Very,
Okay,
very.
three thing happened. One, I got booed. Two, nobody reacted at all. Three, I think they cheered me because they felt sorry for me. You know what I mean? And the funny thing was I think two's the worst because if you got booed or you got, or you got cheered, one way or the other. But then some people, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm an oppressed white rapper. No, that's just stupid and ridiculous. That's just dumb. But I think I've learned to come to respect Vanilla Ice's story in the sense that, I think, I think we talked about it last week, Charles, where he was going on tour, before, he was going on tour with Public Enemy and all really, really legit artists.
Well,
And then
according
what
to him, he
happened?
played the chitlin circuit.
Right. But the thing was SBK fucked him up.
He
SBK
says he
record.
regrets that.
Yeah,
He
and he
says he regrets
regrets that. But at the same time, he said, I had, my car was about to get repossessed and this, that, and the third. So it was necessity, you know what I mean, that he had to do that. But then they took him and they saw an opportunity. They almost, to me, and they pitted them right next to each other and to some degree eventually against each other and drove a wedge. Was Vanilla Ice was kind of marketed as the white MC Hammer.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
Facts.
mean?
Yeah.
And both could dance their ass off, but it was just
Now
like,
wait,
oh,
Shayminn. Let's be honest.
mhm.
Marketing has nothing to do with the rapper themselves.
um,
That's what a label's job is going to do.
right. But the contract, once you get on the contract and you're signed, you do what you're told because you're under contract. They
Right.
own you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They own you. And we're seeing that play out more than ever these days. And you said we'll get to that on another show.
His
And
album To the Extreme was
mhm.
the fastest selling hip hop album of all time.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, at what price? You can't put a price on certain things. You know what I mean? Integrity.
I got a question.
Yeah,
You
go
said
ahead.
DMC back in the day was the thing that lit the fuse or the fire, whatever. What about Beastie Boys? You skipped right over Beastie Boys and went to New Kids on the Block. You wasn't
Well,
feeling
no,
Beastie Boys?
I didn't, I was into the Beastie Boys more, like I said, as a fan. But
Okay.
then growing up in Boston, I saw that like right in my
Cultivating
backyard.
Boys.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just was like, and I watched it all. And again, keep in mind, it was the social aspect with me. I said, sing, get chicks. Yeah, I think that looks like a pretty cool thing. I'm with that, but it didn't go that way. But I compare it, seeing that for the first time. John Lennon from the Beatles said this. He said he went in the theater and he saw, he went to see one of Elvis's dopey, shitty movies that they put them in, and I feel bad for that too. He had the look that could have been, but they wouldn't even have him give him lines. They just have him sing his parts. Eddie Murphy had a funny, in Eddie Murphy Raw. Elvis, we got to win this race. We got to win this
We gotta
race.
win this race.
It's fucking hilarious. I feel bad that way. He had the look he definitely had the look. There's no question. But anyways, back to John Lennon. He looked and said, he said, he saw the people in the chicks in the theater freak out. And he went, that looks like a pretty cool job. And I had the same reaction when I heard Hangin' Tough. But mind you, I didn't bite at the bait at first. I was all basketball all the time, but I remember I got cut from my JV basketball team, and the coach said, you know, we made a mistake. We want you to come back on the team. And I said, what? So I can ride your bench? Go fuck yourself. Do you know what I mean? But as far as, you know, like Vanilla Ice, we'll go back to that. I'm sorry I'm bouncing around, but Vanilla Ice,
Impact.
right. I think, you know, I don't think it was the machine behind him that really, like, really fucking did the whole culture in, and people like me just couldn't get in. You know what I mean? Just, it was a slam. I don't want to make excuses. I'm telling you, giving you
Facts.
actual facts, but I did make excuses for years. Even I was still a little child with him. I took the piss out of him at every turn, meaning like made fun of him. And here's a factoid at the time that I was kind of proud of. I got blocked by him on Twitter for busting his balls.
Twitter?
And
So that's
well, whatever it's
recent.
called. Sorry, it's called X now, you
No,
know,
but
but I
Twitter
got
means that wasn't that long ago that you did that.
no, and it was just,
Wait, you went so hard at Vanilla Ice on Twitter
yeah,
that
I
he
got
blocked you.
yeah, he blocked. Well, whoever runs his Twitter page blocked
Why
me.
did you? I need to know, what were you saying to him?
Oh God, I was just busting his balls. I can't even remember. Do you know what I
But for him
mean?
to
Or I
block
used
you,
to
first of all,
call,
this guy's a multi-millionaire still.
right,
So
but I
for
mean,
you to get under his skin is insane to me.
well, the thing was, again, it was, but I mean, nobody likes an asshole either, and that's what I
No,
was being. You know, that's what I was being, and he's not the, you know, I was being an asshole to a lot of people, you know, but I mean, it was my ego and my self-righteousness. Somebody told me ego stands for edging God out, but you think you're him, or self-righteousness. I think, you know, they said hip hop sales are down 40%.
facts.
Yeah, that's got something to do with the lack of quality in the music, but it's also this, the egos, the self-proclamation. I'm this, I'm that. Michael Jackson have to go around doing that? Nope. Prince? Nope. So I learned the more you talk, the less you convince. And I got this from American Gangster. Loudest is the weakest. You know, and it's almost like when you have to say that type of shit, you're more insecure than anything, you know,
Mhm.
or ego just is mind numbing. With me, I take pride in being humble. You get further. Like people that support you, you're nothing without them. They're the real rock stars as far as I'm concerned. You don't have a fucking job with people without support. They're the
Right.
rock stars, not you. You know, or when artists will complain, oh, they don't give me my privacy. They hang outside my house. This is what you worked your ass for, you clown. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. But I mean, I think, um, I think I think it's screwing the music up. The egos, the self-proclamation, you know, it just like it turns people. You ever just hear? I mean, like I remember I heard Springsteen say it. He said, I just want to be the guy that you would want to go have a beer with. Now I've been a long
Yeah.
time sober, okay? But when I drank, I wasn't one of those guys that would fight you. I'd sit around, make people laugh, tell stories, and just you know, tell me what's going on in your world. I mean, seriously, and we come across plenty of them in this fucking business. Or people ask me, "Are you any advice for getting into the business?" Yeah, everybody's full of shit. Now work your way backwards. Do you know what I
Shayminn.
mean? That's what I tell
So
them.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now that we're talking about the business,
Mm-hmm.
the white exec making money off of hip hop,
Yep. Yep.
making it so that certain things are prevalent,
Mm-hmm.
signing certain artists that only say certain things.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, it's dude,
But
it's
they go home
intentional.
to their beach house with the jacuzzi while
Yep.
you're in the hood spitting this stuff that they're talking about. What's your
Right.
thoughts?
Well, put it this way. People want to blame the artist. Let's go back to what Vanilla Ice said. I had this and this to pay for. You know, it was more necessity out of necessity meets desperation. You know, you're desperate to, okay, I got to sign this. I got to get money and I got to get it now.
A lot
But
of money on the table.
okay, but um, say you commit. Now everybody wants to blame the artist out front, bro. It's not. Like I said, you sign to a label, you do what the fuck you're told. So um, so say I come into an office and they say, and I say I'm from New Hampshire, farm country, and they say, what do you rap about? And my realities is cows and electric fences. I go, okay, cool. But where's your songs about this, and this? And how come there's no half naked bitches in your video? How come you ain't doing this, and this? And if you're not willing to do that, then get the fuck out of my office. So you have kids, I feel, can't speak for them, but it's kind of, first of all, the streets don't dictate anymore because the corporations, or I call them the corporate pirates, took what we treasure. And they run everything now because they okay, give me but anyways, the artist comes in and tells you, you know, they tell you, I don't know for a fact, but it's a pervasive pattern that's quite obvious. Like you said, it's by design, it's intentional. Where they sit there and you say, like, you come from, I don't know, you come from the Bronx, you come from dirt poor shit anywhere, and they give you an opportunity to give you money beyond your wildest dreams, and it'll get you and your mom out the fucking projects and things like that, which I know nothing about because I didn't grow up there. Let's keep it a buck, okay? And I ain't talking about a male dare. That's 100 for those that don't know. So you know, these kids get all this money, okay, but these corporate people, all right, a lot of this ain't really the kid's fault because they sit there and, like, they have this style. Okay, give me 20 motherfuckers that mumble. You know what I mean? Then when they get auto-tuned, they get rid of auto-tune and people start being legible again, like concise and clear. Okay, give me 50 people that fucking fast rap, which I don't understand that, by the way. Mumbling, you don't understand what the fuck they're saying. Fast rap, you don't understand what the fuck they're saying neither. But one seems more to be accepted practice, which is fast rap. But I don't get it. Somebody told me less is more. I feel like we pay too much attention to the intricate, important, which again I think is crucifying the music. He had good cadence. He had good flow. The average fan ain't gonna fucking know that. Make dope music. Spit and be dope. No disrespect to anybody that does that. If you want to disagree with me, fine. That's like, Eminem is, great. He raps fast. Who the fuck cares? It's not like you're being clocked like pitchers. Oh, he just threw 95 miles per hour. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they clock your speed, but everybody, I sometimes call it getting cute with it, where you want to look more over everyone's head like the other guy, or you are some enigma, you are some unsolvable puzzle, and somebody told me less is more, or I hear in AA all the time. There's a term for the word kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Less is more. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like we talk about having bars, right? And talk about having bars. Okay, that's great. Okay, that's great. It's great. But when are we going to get back to lyrical content? Because what the fuck are you actually saying in between those bars?
Speaking of bars, Shayminn, I got a question. Eminem.
Yep.
And I've heard this from some of my friends and some of my people online. And I disagree with it because I feel like it's two men in the arena. But some people say that Eminem should never disrespect someone such as Melly Mel because he's a guest and Melly Mel is a founder. And when he spoke on Melly Mel, he was out of pocket.
Right.
What's your
Right.
thoughts on Eminem speaking on Melly Mel? Although he didn't outright diss him, he said
Mm-hmm.
he takes roids, and he made a joke. He made light of him. What's your thoughts of the Eminem Melly Mel situation?
Should have left it alone. Should have left it alone. Melly Mel is a pillar. Melly Mel is an elder statesman. Melly Mel's a fucking legend. He's a pioneer.
But Melly
Came
Mel
in
can
with,
be a dickhead too.
Did Melly Mel
Let's
say
be
something else
honest,
first?
bro. Let's be
you know,
honest. Go
Did
ahead.
Melly
oh
Mel say
yeah, I
something about him
mean,
first?
Melly
um,
Mel disrespected almost all of the rappers after him. He was
mm-hmm.
Method Man, everybody. So we got to be honest when we talk about Melly Mel. He was
Yep.
very rude to a lot of the up and coming, and he did not support a lot of them on his way out. Even in the 90s, Melly Mel was very anti young rapper. So
Right.
Eminem speaking on him, Eminem said something now, which he been dealing with Melly Mel for 20 years too, just like Benzino. Just
Right.
wanted to say that.
And the thing is, though, but I mean, this is where you got to be fucking smart. You got to be fucking smart. Where you have to, you know, be smart. Throw hands. It's where the ego comes in. The pride comes in. I got to do this. I got to do that. I
Yeah.
practice resistance. Because again, there's implications. People can fucking die over this shit. You know what I mean? So you got to be responsible on both sides. Like I said, Eminem spies. You know what I feel bad about Eminem's artist. I think, what is he called? $500,000 or something. And he used $500,000's track.
He got a couple of them.
Yeah. And it's like, and I feel bad for guys on his label because he's never going to let anybody do better than him. Never. Never. Why do you think so many people leave that label? And I don't want to talk bad about nobody because there's some pound for pound talent on that thing. You know what I mean? Pound for pound talent. You know what I mean? But I just don't feel they got the right push. They had West Side Boogie, dope. They had another dude named Grip from Atlanta, dope. Obi Trice, dope. You know what I mean? And then it just got, and everybody ends up leaving for some, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not, I keep my shit to myself. You know what I mean? So.
Didn't Griselda leave Eminem?
I think so. Yeah. Something like that, dude. You know what I mean? Something like that.
So Eminem had Easy Mill. He had Cassius, Proof.
Yep.
Devon Porter.
Right.
Slim the Motivator.
Yep.
I mean, Slim the Mobster.
Right. Even Yellow
a
Wolf.
bunch of people.
Yellow Wolf was with
Yellow
him.
Wolf, yeah.
Right. So,
Slaughterhouse. Yeah, Slaughterhouse too.
Yeah. But what I want to speak upon, though, is as far as my connection to hip hop culture and how it shifted, is I learned the truth about my Irish roots, and that we are an oppressed people.
Yeah.
And I have books if anybody wants to, brush up, but there was colonialization, famine, slavery, all that stuff. So when I started learning about this stuff, I was starting to see the parallels of what I learned in black culture, you know what I mean? And then once I started doing that, I started, trying to, dig up Irish hip hop, and I did. And that actually, like for real in Ireland, not House of Pain this time, in Ireland. And I got heavy into their scene, and it saved my career because I was bored being the white kid. I was bored being him because I realized there was something deeper. And I followed that, and I did a show in Belfast. I did a show in Derry, did a show in Dublin, and, I fit more there like a hand in glove than I ever have here, man. And there's so many crews that,
More comfortable performing over there.
No, I mean both. I don't give a fuck where I'm at. I don't give a fuck if I'm in front of a crew full of Dalmatians. I'll still rock the fucking spot. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. But I mean, it was just, it felt like a consummation because it was deeper than hip hop. It was deeper than music. I was going home to a place I had never been.
That's
It was
beautiful.
weird. Do you know what I mean? It was
And
really
just so you guys
fucking
know,
strange.
Shayminn has a whole Facebook group with Irish
Yep.
rappers in it, right?
Yep.
Let them
Flavor
know
in your
about that.
ear. Yeah, it's called Flavor in Your Ear. Like, shouts to Craig Mack. He gave me the idea. Flavor in your ear, except it was spelled flavor, normal spelling. In your is kind of how they spell it. I think it's more an English thing, YER, and then air, EIRE, which is in Irish native language that's the name for Ireland. Do you know what I mean? That's the name for Ireland. And so I did that, and I've tried to take some of the support that I've been getting and lucky to have over the years and spread it around and then introduce it to this market. I mean, this market's just waiting to be fed with Irish Americans. And there's a group right now out of Belfast that is an Irish language / English speaking rap group named Kneecap. They were just on with fucking Jimmy Fallon. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And they're starting to get really big over here. And like Irish Americans are taken to it. It's they earn most of their, they were respected by black culture, but it really blew up with Irish Americans around here, like anything. And it just, so like Kneecap is proving, I have nothing to do with their success, but it's proven what I've always known, that if it comes over here, like you always start with a core market. There's say you're in Irish culture or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And everything starts with a core market. You know what I mean? And you have to, like, it's like a rock in the water, and it's like a rock in the water. You put the rock and then it spreads everywhere. The current, the currents. So like Jamaica, core audience, for reggae, and then it spread everywhere. So it's kind of like people in Ireland where it's not really big. You come over, fucking hell, really?
Go ahead. We're still here. Shayminn, you here? We might have lost him
They
until we find him.
might have knocked itself out of the loop.
I know. But we still gonna I'm about to wrap it up anyway. I think we touched on everything. Anything you want to say, Dale, before we get out of here?
Nah, you ain't need me on this joint. It's
Nah.
like interview. It was
Nah,
like
this was
interview. You ain't need me on
captivating.
this joint.
This was captivating, bro. Shayminn is he brought a very good. I knew he would though. This guy is amazing. Like his stories are amazing. His storytelling. He actually really. He probably gonna call me in a minute, but I was going to wrap it up anyway. So he's probably like, damn, I messed it up. No, he didn't. But end of the day, I feel like what he spoke on was very his own perspective that only he could possibly bring. And that's why he was brought to the table.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got what we needed from it. A white man's perspective of race and culture and hip hop. We saw his story, how he stuck with something that he didn't have to. This was something that a whole nother culture. And he jumped in it and he worked his way up and became what he became. But end of the day, I
That's
think we
cool. We got to perform over there in Ireland. That's cool. I like that.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
So I don't really know what else we need to say. If somebody got anything in the comments, make sure y'all write it in the comments. Another fascinating show. I saw it was some crazy comments. I didn't even read the comments tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was
So
checking them out.
yeah, very good comments tonight. One of the most engaging shows. We had most people sticking around for the whole show. I'm looking at the numbers as we were going, and they never dropped. People were engaged with Shayminn. It was a very good episode, and I was really what he spoke on was very it was personal, and it let some insight on Vanilla Ice and things like that. So I'm pleased with the show.
Yeah, some good insight on Mighty RSO too, being that he's from that area.
Facts.
Yeah.
And this was old head conversation right here. So Dale, I'm gonna get out of here. We're gonna be back next Monday night. I don't even know. We never know what the topic gonna be till it
Yeah, I ain't know
happens.
until like what, about 5 hours ago.
You ain't know till today what it was gonna be. So
Yeah.
listen, thank y'all for watching. If y'all got anything to write in the comments, share the video, support, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. We appreciate y'all. And I am Charles Brown. Right there is Four Eyes the Ugly Professor. We got albums together called Force Multipliers. Charles and the Ugly Professor. Go check that out. We hip hop too.
And hopefully we get a part 2 to that.
I'm working on part 2, Dale. It's coming, Dale. All right, gang. I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip side. Peace out.